What's up, everybody? We're live here with the season finale of 2024 Sorare MLB. What's going on, Nate?
Nothing, man. It's good to be here. Good to do one last show for the season. It's been a hell of a ride. But yeah, it'll be fun to talk how the chase went, talk about what our off-season plans are, and look ahead to next year as well.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I think overall, incredible season. Had a blast. I think I came out on top. Welcome in, Cribs Cutler. Awesome to see the guy up near the podium so often. I think it's your first time popping into the stream as well. So welcome. Jump Shoot, what's going on, brother? Welcome in as always. Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome season. I want to hear in the chats what everyone's like biggest wins were and anything that you guys want to talk about. Some heavy hitters in here today with Cribs, Jump Shoot, Miguel, and Link. Man, one of our good buddies, just might as well shout him out from the get-go. Paul, Hudson River, Hud's Dog, all the above, $6,500, the Chase champion for the postseason. And he led it wire to wire. That is our guy. Big shout out. Unbelievable. That 6,500 hit his account today. So that is pretty sick to see. Really just crushed it in the postseason chase. So good evening, everybody. Good evening. Hope the chase comes back in 2025, and I hope so too. And I don't see any reason why not. I mean, it was the best part of, I think, Sorare MLB this whole entire season.
Yeah.
And I was kind of looking back at my results too. I didn't even start playing the chase until July. I think May and June there were chases, or June was maybe the first one, but I sat out the first couple just strategy wise. Didn't think I had a strong enough 24 collection to go for it. But that's where I took home a lot of, big money that I took home in these contests this year. So
the chases are an awesome balance of the standard contests that we have on here. And I have to imagine that we'll start to see even more variation as we continue forward. We've already heard about multi-entry, and I think that while we may not be seeing quite the user growth that we had hoped at this point, that there's still a good number of people here, and hopefully Sorare continues to come up with ways for us to use these growing classic collections that we have. So I think Chase, the same 3 to 4 day contest that we've been seeing, but maybe some one day, maybe something that we haven't even thought of yet, but very much looking forward to seeing how they innovate next year as well.
Yeah, I think, Sorare MLB are probably going to follow suit a little bit on Sorare NBA, which has been a blast already this season. I know I mentioned it last time around, but, drop in the chat if you're enjoying Sorare NBA this time around. But it's fun. It's like 3 entries per limited contest, 3 in the classic, 3 in the current season. And then they also have daily hoops too. So, you can play daily hoops in common and also daily hoops in, limited rare and the other tier. So they throw different themes on those. So think of like the special weeklies. They're coming up basically on a daily basis for NBA. So I think today's was like American born players. There was one 2 days ago where turnovers were -6 points instead of -2 typical. So like really fun iterations like that on a daily basis. I think it's a blast. I think it's a good way to get people involved and keep those cards in rotation. So you really have to kind of think too, like, maybe you're not going to put, instead, here's how I kind of think, right? A typical game week has 4 games, right? You have 2 games or you have 3 games. You can either get the best score out of the 3 games. Well, I guess NBA is different because it's the top score out of the game week, top single game score, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I've been doing in NBA is I've been taking for this week, for example, guys with 2 games, they would go in my standard lineup, and guys with 3 games, I would hold them back because I get 3 separate daily uses out of those typical guys. So it's kind of cool to think about that way. A couple different strategies going into it. So
yeah, I mean, the special weeklies definitely lend themselves to these growing classic collections. just makes it fun to be able to, you know, utilize them in different ways, you know, dust off some cards that you hadn't used previously. I mean, we talked a lot about the Field Generals one. I think a lot of people had fun with that. Catchers get underutilized in So Rare because they have days off. So to have a game mode that specifically catered to, you know, dusting those cards off and getting some use out of them, it's fun. You know, the aces variation where they put a premium on more starting pitching, and it's nice setting lineups that stray from kind of the meta that we have leaned into with the standard gameplay.
Super fun wrinkle. Jump shoot just jumped something in here that I think is like super important too. I really hope they keep the mixed rarity as well. Selfishly, because Rare All Star was my number one by far yielding contest this whole entire season. It was last season too. So for me, it's the big hits. It's the being able to use your top tier guys, your stars, as limited cards and mix in a smart, you know, strategic stack or a good pitching matchup. Won that contest twice and also came in second once this year. So the initial one was a Bobby Witt Jr. rare. Ended up taking second for a Trey Turner, which if I would have taken first and just started my closer, would have been a Tatis. But then I came back and won it in the last game week of the season and got the Gunner. So super awesome contest. I put some numbers together on basically just kind of how I did this season. And the numbers are pretty clear. Like since the All-Star break, I don't think I yielded a ton. I mean, maybe there's a couple of those full rare contests that I got, but nothing better than like a T4 or something like that. The prize structure was just off whack.
We were a tale of two halves this year. I took the screen time in the first half, and you sprinted past me in the second half. We both took down some big wins this year, but you finished very strong. It's some awesome finishes down the stretch, especially to finish out that final game week with a W was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was epic. I mean, it's probably the highlight. The first podium was obviously the highlight. I mean, there's nothing like that first podium. If you haven't caught one yet, switch my camera over. Sorry, guys. Let's do this.
Hud's dog.
There we go. There's the legend. Hud's dog in the building.
Congrats, man.
Mr. Top Dog. There's a couple top dogs in here. I think Cribs got a top one. Jump Shoot's gotten the top, and Link got the top on the chase. Was it in? Remind me, Link. Was that August chase? Anyways, back to what I was saying. Where'd I lose my train of thought?
We were talking about the second half, taking down some W's.
Yeah. I don't know, wherever we were at.
Gone.
Stupid camera.
But yeah, before I cut you off, you were talking about adding up the results from the season.
Oh yeah. I mean, it really stacked up the cash contest. It's going to change my strategy going into next season, I think. It's changed my strategy going into NBA where, for I was talking about the prize structure. The prize structure is a little bit out of whack for the rare. So I didn't really take anything home in the rare only contest, but, the mixed was awesome. Also just seeing how much money I was able to stack up on the 2024 contests was really cool. Since after the All-Star break, 355 cash. Nice. So that was huge. On top of that, I got, 11 rares, including the including the 2 stars, not including the Bobby Witt from the first half. So 11 rares, 2 stars, and then 9 limited cards and like 40 boxes, 40 limited boxes and like 9 rare boxes or something like that. So one of the rare boxes I pulled a Mason Miller. So that's all stuff that you don't really account for because you still have it, but just a ton of good stuff in there,
Yeah, I like to kind of remind myself how much my collection has grown this year, because I think that it's easy to just look at the cash and the the big hits, right? For me, it was Bobby Witt and Gunnar early, and a second place finish in limited champ for 250. But besides that, the collection tripled this year, and I've still got, I've got some cash on the sidelines ready to go for the start of next year. But I also have a much more impressive collection than I had at the start of last year, than I had at the start of the year before that. So we have hit multiple iterations since we started doing this show of how we've been able to compete. You called it at the end of last season that I was going to kind of jump into rare this year, which I started very small, still didn't put a ton of money into it, but gathered enough rare cards that I went from kind of putting my leftover limiteds in that contest to, like you said, using some of my studs, especially guys I had two of. I had multiple limited Trey Turners. I had 3 Jaron Durans. I had a lot of Phillies overall, so found ways to do that. Found my Arizona stack, and to Jump Shoot's point and yours, that mixed rarity contest, really at any level, I think it behooves So Rare to keep those in there, because it still maintains that ability to kind of taste that next level without having to go in head first. You can still play the stars that you have of the lower tier without, you might not be competing for podiums, because we've spoken to the fact that it's that XP, it's those bonuses that really come into play when you're talking about podiums, but you can cash, and you're not at too big a deficit if you've got a 10% bonus instead of a 18% bonus on a Bryce Harper or a Tatis or whatever it may be. If you've got those big guys that hit for big weeks, and you're playing, postseason's a different animal, because the player pool keeps dwindling. But when you're operating with the full player pool and you have a differentiated lineup, it does give you that chance to win some cards at that next tier, kind of dip the toes, get excited about it. That's certainly how it went for me this year. I won a handful of rare cards, probably not more than half a dozen, but it was enough to keep me, playing Moneyball, buying some pitchers, starting to round out the collection a little bit more than just a total crapshoot, and looking forward to continuing to do that. We've talked about how with the continued volume on these classic cards, or the increasing volume, I should say, on these classic cards, rare is going to be a little bit more palatable to get into. Limited is really, really accessible now. The star players are still, they're going to add up, but you don't need star players to cash. You might not be podium, you might not have that podium, although you can. We've seen it. But you can cash with any budget. You just got to get creative with your lineups.
Yep. Agreed. I think going back to the prize structure, I think that's going to be really interesting to see next year, because, it's tough when you need to come in the top, 20 just to clear a tier 3 or whatever it is. I'm not saying that that's what it's going to be, but that becomes really tough. So hopefully they keep that in mind and they keep that conscious top of mind.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. I mean, it's more accessible than ever. I would argue your point that you could definitely get up on the podium with, cards that you wouldn't think so.
Sure.
Like I'm looking at my rare all-star #1 place at the end of the season. And granted, I got to take advantage of the Mets and the Braves playing a 5-game series. But Ozuna, he only got me 18 points. Lindor and Teoscar were my rare cards in that one. And then Jose Budo, who I won, right, as my starting pitcher, to supplement them with my limiteds. I didn't even put in top limited guys. I had Ottavino in there as my reliever. And then Shohei, of course, did great. And then I had Olsen in there as a limited card, but he only got me 11. So 290 points. It's awesome. And great point, Miguel, his favorite, he taking him to the top is Gino. So guys get hot. You ride the hot hand. That's what this game's all about. So
Yeah.
The more ball you watch, the more you know who to play the hot hand with, the matchups, the stacks. That's the fun of it.
Yeah. Yeah, there is no replacement for watching baseball. And I think that I said this probably 2 years ago when we first started doing this, but in addition to it being fun to collect my Red Sox, I also understand what's happening with the Red Sox better than any other team. Obviously, it lends itself to the fact that we have a good offense, even if we don't have a good team. But that's neither here nor there. It'll, when you see a guy that is just, you know, barreling baseballs, but it keeps going at somebody and they go on a 4, 5, 6 game stretch where the batting average isn't there, but you're seeing that he's making good contact. That doesn't show up in the box score, but you know it when you're watching. And so that's the kind of thing where those bad games adding up, if you know that they're still hitting the ball well, it plays to your advantage because people are coming off of that player as they see that flat line of Sorare scores, but you know that good game week is coming. And if you can start a guy when he has his 70, 80 point game week and everybody's been off him because his last 2 weeks were bad, that there's nothing more significant in taking a jump up that leaderboard than having a low ownership big play. So watching baseball makes a difference, man. And I know that's a big differentiator for Paul. He watches a lot of baseball and he knows his stuff. And so he is able to kind of look at those things and put those into play. And I know that there's a lot of people in the Discord that are doing the same. A lot of guys that just love watching baseball.
Yeah. Good plug for the Discord. I mean, it's been so fun in there this season. So I want to shout out to everybody in the Nifty Discord and, everybody who continues to be active in there all the time. That's where, I spend a lot of my time, and that's where a lot of the community is, because we're here streaming. This year we didn't even start off streaming this year. We started off not streaming at all. And then we got so into it that we needed to put something together. And I think we did 6 or 7 episodes, but the Discord all season long was the place to be for lineup help, for advice, to trade. There's still
last minute injuries.
There's still trades going on, right now. NBA is starting to pick up. So jump in there. If you're catching this video now and you're not a part of it, join us in the Discord. It's a great spot. And if you're catching this video later on, prepping for next season, jump in and come hang out. What else can we get into this episode, guys? This might be the short one, but drop in chat whatever you want us to talk about, and we're happy to kind of chat for a little bit here and pull up our screens and do whatever. So maybe
let's take a look at
strategy. You got anything on the top of your cap for what you were looking at this offseason, Nate?
I was gonna just quickly. I definitely want to touch on that. That's a fun conversation, but let's just real quick look at some podiums here on these chases.
Yeah, pull it up.
Oh. There's Boston's finest sitting at the top in limited champ, taking home the 6,500. Astoria Baseball Club with $3,000, and Jindos with 1,500. And then we had some still real nice cash finishes down here as well. I fizzled out at the end. I finished one spot out of $25, which I was hoping to do. So nothing exciting for me here, but some huge finishes. Speaking to Paul here, kind of the biggest thing that happened for him was in that final game, Blake Trinan coming in and just kind of doing work there. Let's see. Well, oh no,
3 innings.
Okay.
I think did he pitch 3 innings that last game?
There we go. This is the one. Yeah, right here. He pitched 2 1/3, 3 strikeouts, 1 hit, 1 walk, and he got the win and the relief appearance, 21.5. It made all the difference. Ended up winning by 3 points, and it was that final strikeout that did it. And yeah, he put together a string of really good lineups. There were no duds and there were some big finishes. So shout out there.
Insane.
Limited Pro.
What a run he had from the beginning to end there.
Yep.
Just sharp lineups all the way through, man. He knew what he was doing. Just played the right guys, and Trianon's a rare card. There's not many of them out there. I almost accepted a trade on one myself, but I was too slow, and somebody else got it because the guy threw out multiple offers, but that would have shifted everything that I did. And, going into that, World Series would have been looking a lot nicer, but still was able to take home $50. So
Yeah, I think Paul had said that
freaking
there were only
Muncie.
about 30 of those cards available. So those are the kinds of things that are differentiators. So it's the stuff to know. We had I don't even know how to attempt that. Oaknalock taking down the limited pro chase. We had Rare Champ, a name that we've seen a lot. Dewey
Jeez.
12218 with
Dewey.
the 8500. Mouse Maker taking down 5500, and Prince with the 2500.
Shout out Crypto Poppy in the top 5.
Looks
Love
like
that.
what do we got here? 20. Oh, damn. Paul finished just outside the cash here. Look at that. Looks like only the top 26 got 250. Paul, I just kept it on it because I had clicked it 28th there.
Oh,
Almost a
nice.
nice finish. Rare Pro Hall of Fame took that down. Super Rare Champ went to Hey Eagles FN. That's a name that we see a lot. Prince again. Shaka Bra. That's a name we see a lot. Dewey taking down $1,000 in Super Rare. Super Rare Pro. Dewey again. Zuby. That's a name we see a lot. And then Unique Champ. 20 grand going to H-Town. Shafted Kings in second place. Mr. McRib. That's a name I've seen a lot. 2,500. And Unique Pro. Mr. McRib. Shafted Kings. And again, Dewey. So a lot of good finishes there. Congrats to everybody that cashed in. Like we said, the chases are the best, and the championship chase is the pinnacle of that. So didn't do as hot this year as I did last year, but still had a ton of fun with it. Love the chase format, and the dwindling player pool makes it very, very interesting by the time you get down to those last 2 game weeks.
100%. Good question here on Jump Shoot. Thoughts on the playoff card design? I know we were just talking about that before it came in. What do you think, Nate?
I'll pull up the one that I got. I ended up with a tier 3 in pro, which I was very happy to get a Salvi here for tier 3. I was expecting like a reliever or something at tier 3. But I collected a full Royal set this year, or, enough for 5%. So this was a nice hit for me. Got that. Well, it will be 5% by the time all the 90 days kick in. But yeah, we were talking about this before we started. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's fine. I like the kind of wood feel to it. I like the border. The lines are a little bit strange. The back is kind of cool. Kind of like that.
Cool.
But yeah, it's fine. I think we both agree that we like, of the 3 seasons, just overall, we both kind of like 2023 the best so far. Not that I've had an issue with any of them. I've liked the progression. I've liked the change. I'm looking forward to seeing what the 2025 cards look like next year. I do like that they do these special edition. It's a fun little trophy.
Super
Definitely
fun.
this one's staying in the collection. Not that it would be going for much anyway, but it's a cool card. And yeah, I like the differentiation.
Love it. Yeah, no, I think they look good. I think they did a good job with the cards this year. They look clean, but yeah, my favorites was last season's. So, I'm really excited after seeing the basketball cards. I think baseball kind of followed suit from NBA last season as well. If it's anything like that moving forward, I think these are the cleanest cards yet. So, be excited to see what they have in store for 2025. Let me see what else we got here. Boxes. How many you got?
Sitting at 23.
I opened one today. Got a Quan.
I have to open one tomorrow. I've got like 12 hours left on my clock.
Why risk it? Open it now.
I got the alarm in the phone.
I have I think like 16 left. Yeah, I got 16 left. I figure it'll be enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I got probably like 3 to 5 rare boxes in there, and then the rest are limited. So probably looking at somewhere around $150 worth of credits. So yeah, still tough to know exactly how to go about this. Going to keep opening them and keep the streak alive for now until we potentially get more information at some point. No real way to go about it the right way. You just gotta take a stance and hope for the best.
It's cool. NBA, 50% off, baby.
Really?
Let's go.
Damn. It's a significant credit.
That
I
is.
mean, it's
and I feel like they're harder to get credits too, because they're giving out Essence, which is like, Nate, I know you don't know about Essence yet, but Essence is pretty cool. Have you looked into it at all?
No, I've seen a little bit of talk in Discord, but I haven't looked into it in detail.
Yeah, you basically get these things called Essence, and they come in these little vials. You can get one at a time. I've gotten up to like 20 at a time. And the more that you stack up, you basically trade it in for a card, and you basically mint your own new card with higher chances of pulling a star as you go up.
That's cool.
Say I'll pull these numbers out, without having them in front of me, but like as an example, like you save up 250 Essence. There's no chance you're getting a T5 or a T4. You got the majority of chance at a T3, but you also have some chance at a T2, T1, and like a star tier.
Very cool.
It's cool. And it's, I like it. I wish they did that for baseball. Maybe they will.
Yeah. Very gamified. That's very, very video game crafting, in-game currency. I like that.
I think Miguel was the one who's put it in the Discord. If you're listening, Miguel, but somebody like put in an Essence where they had like a less than a 10% shot at getting a star, and they got a Kylian Mbappe.
Nice.
So, like, I mean, that's just dope.
Yeah, love that.
What about coins? Are those holding over into next year? I'm assuming.
So, what they had said in the last announcement that I read anyway is that we're going to be reimbursed the coins that were spent on training lineups, because everybody's going to get the same number of training lineups next year. So the ones that we bought, we're going to get our money back on. And then there's going to be a final sale with, we don't really know what, but something that we can spend those coins on to kind of round out the season. I don't know if it's going to happen soon, in the middle of the off season, at the beginning of next season. Unless somebody correct me in chat if you've seen more information on this, but as far as we know, there's some undefined, set of options that we're going to get to spend those coins on, and then we're going to retire that shop and that concept overall. So
okay,
yeah. So I bought the first 3 training lineups, so I'll get pretty good chunk of coins back. I had been hoarding those coins, as you can see. But yeah, don't know exactly what we're going to get to use them for, but it seems like that's going to get phased out. So
boosts will be gone too, huh? Potentially.
Yeah. Unless they implement it in a different way. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to go.
Because there's no boosts. There's no boost for NBA unless I'm wrong.
Okay.
But a good thing, a funny thing here too, is Link put this up, and I'll kind of explain it to you, Nate. But the NBA did a promo basically through like Halloween, so call it like the first 2 weeks of the season. If you bought a card, any card, no matter how much it costs through auction or instant buy, you got a box.
That's cool.
A lot of those boxes had Essence. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't a box. It was an Essence, an automatic Essence. So it could be a one times Essence, a 2 or 3 or whatever. So, I mean, just with buying a few cards here on the marketplace, I think I've, worked up a good amount of Essence so that I can continue saving. And hopefully by the time, I don't know, Christmas Day comes around, or even the All-Star break, I can pop that off for a nice star tier card or tier 1.
Yeah.
So,
I got to say that it's definitely a double-edged sword, right? I think that a lot of these kind of in-game currencies and credits and boxes and Essence, it's all really cool. But at the same time, we did see the secondary market take a big hit with all of the focus shifted to auctions and buy it nows and things of that nature. I'm hoping that we find a better balance. I understand that Sorare needs to make money to stay alive. And the reality was that we didn't have the user growth that helped support that secondary manager sale market, in addition to the actual Sorare sold, the primary market, let's call it. And I'm just hoping that we find a better balance there, because otherwise we're going to continue to see that secondary market drop, those floors drop. That will have an impact on how much cards are selling for on the primary market as well. So we're still early. They're still figuring out that balance. And, I get that it is a balance across a multitude of factors, but we do need to find a sweet spot there where the secondary market isn't completely forgotten.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. Who knows? Multiplayer could be, multi lineup could be a good, indicating factor. And I think at the same time too, like when it comes to a lot of us now, we've built up these bonuses, right? So we've talked about this before. There may be some cards that just don't hit the market anymore, and which is why I'm kind of taking a look out for stuff that could be the case on. And maybe like pulling the trigger this off season,
Mm-hmm.
So as more people play and they want to build up their lineups and stuff like that, or people just head out and don't find use to list that card anymore, just the listing volume may be low on certain cards that you need to kind of hit bonuses and collect and all that kind of thing. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if there's any change in the collection game next season too.
It has been interesting. While the kind of the top end cards have taken a hit, the lower end round out your collection for collector score on the older sets, as I think you had predicted about 6 months ago, those have gone away. It's really hard to go find the stuff that you need, say in 2022 sets, especially when you're talking about the set that Ohtani lives in, or Judge, or the top guys, where getting the rookie cards in particular, they're tough to come by. Some of them were lower mint to begin with. They're being forgotten. They're a pain to list, et cetera, et cetera. To no fault, it's just the natural progression. But these things get forgotten and lost, just like physical cards. It's really no different. So as people move on to the next, thing that they're focusing on their collection, they might not be listing the $1-2 cards anymore. So it has created an interesting dynamic on building out collector score on some of those older sets. And we'll see if that plays out, on the mid tier to higher tier cards as time goes on. But like I said, we're still early, and it's fun to watch and see what the progression is on that secondary market.
For sure. One of the cool things too about, kind of knowing this going into next season is, we talked about this a lot this year, is just, when you key in on like a big reward or something like that, that's your chance to build that collection around that guy, just like you did with Gunnar, just like both of us did with Bobby Witt Jr. We were picking up cards for $1, right? And they're 40 points a pop that are going to make that Bobby Witt a 5% for forever.
Yeah.
Another cool thing about that is that like you can continue to add on to those sets. So if you really just want to juice up like some star players, like both of my Otanis are going to have that,
Yeah.
So it's going to be an Ohtani that I can play twice. You can never have enough Otanis. You can play them in, especially with multi-entry, just a heavily loaded, deck with the Ohtani or anybody that's in that set. Mookie, anybody, So that's something to kind of take a look out for next year too. We've got some activity in the chat here. I've kind of been phasing off of it, but we'll go back and see what's in here.
It would be cool if they did some seasons, like classic season specific contests, a contest where you can only play 2022 cards, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be a cool homage to people that have been here for a while, people that have, grown those collections. You can put an emphasis back on those sets that it removes it from being part of the giant classic population, and all of a sudden you got to have it from that year. I think that would be a cool way to have those classic cards add some value. It can be at random intervals. It doesn't have to be every week, but it can be another variation of special weeklies.
Yeah, for sure. Just reading through the chat here, going back to Miguel making like a really good point. The coins are ending the season, and I guess in football what they did is they did raffles They did a raffle with coins, and what happened is, I guess they did a second one that nobody knew about. So everyone spent their coins on the first one, and anybody who didn't had a huge advantage going into the second one. So I'm assuming they'll learn from their mistake on that. I'm not figuring that went over too well with the community, but yeah. So we'll keep an eye out for that and hope that doesn't happen. But hopefully, there's some cool stuff on there, for us to kind of pull into.
For sure.
Link's got a strategy thing going in here, and anytime strategy comes out of his mouth, you better listen up.
Yeah.
I'll read it out loud for the first time. My strategy for the collection score this season was to buy cheap rookie and non-star players, then buy stars on the secondary. Yep. That's perfect. Yep. It's almost impossible to find players for old season collection score.
I was cherry picking rookie cards throughout the season, even if I wasn't building a set. The rookie cards were the things that I was focusing on when I was rounding out collector score on 2022 and 2023. Those cards are really hard to come by now. So I took a more proactive approach and just kind of cherry picked some lower priced auctions. I had credits. Some of these guys weren't up for very long. They got sent back down or they got injured or whatever. They could have low pop. You just never know what type of card is going to suddenly be more valuable for some random reason. So it is fun to make some spec plays. Actually, one of the more unique cards that I have was a late season prize last year, which was this guy right here. I just been training the hell out of this Jordan Lawler, who is supposed to be really good. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. We didn't see him at the major league level, I don't think, at all this year. I think he was hurt all year. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong about that. But
yeah, he was out.
But I don't think that there's a whole lot of these. And
he was up to start, and then he was out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we ever got a 2024 card of Lawler. And so I don't know. I don't know how. Actually, you know what? I forgot. We can see now. Yeah. So there are 36 of that card, and it's the only year that a Lawler exists. So when I first won that, it was kind of a bummer because he wasn't playing. It was the end of the year. I tried selling it for like $15. It didn't sell. And I'm glad that it didn't, because now I have this very unique card. Obviously, eventually, probably next year, we're going to see 2025 cards. But, you just never know. This could be worthless. It could be really good. He might stink. He might not. He could be amazing. But, if he comes up and he has a big start next year, I'll have one of the very few Jordan Lawler cards. And like I said, I've been training at level 13. Don't have a great collection bonus behind it, but especially rookie cards, you just never know what they're going to end up looking like.
Yeah, it's fun to play stuff like that, man. It definitely is. Especially, even if you can use it as part of a stack that makes your stack completely unique to everything else out there. Mm-hmm. Like you throw that in you throw that card when he's hot into your rare all-star stack with your other Diamondbacks cards that you have, like,
yep,
that could be the difference maker.
For sure.
Like, it's such a differentiator. That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I love going into like Link said, that's a really good strategy. I think that's a really good one. I'm gonna look at that next year. I might try to get some bigger guys at the beginning, but maybe focus on stuff that I don't have in general. I did pick up some rookies, but not a ton. Like I didn't know, kind of getting down towards the end, like, am I going to push the chips in on the Padres? I picked up a couple rookie cards there. Always wanted the Jackson Merrill, didn't get the Jackson Merrill. That may be a 2024 set for me. Mm-hmm. I don't have a Soto. Who knows where he'll go? I can't see myself building out another entire Mets set because I have it, but I definitely want one of his next year. So.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any type of or obviously we won't really know till we get there, but what are your thoughts on, off season going into next year?
thoughts on teams, how they're going to perform, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well,
But
I just
I
mean
mean,
like how, now that we have a year of what we saw the in-season emphasis be, right? We didn't have that last year. This year we had cash prizes for champ. You and I both took the first few weeks off on 2024 cards this year, felt expensive, didn't really know how to interpret it. I got in a little bit sooner than you. It worked out. Some of it was luck, right? Some of it was that I won a Bobby Witt 2024 in a classic contest in game week 3,
yep.
which made it more appealing for me to go move forward with that because I had a low pop Witt, which helped me win some cash and et cetera, et cetera. But now that we kind of saw that play out, how do you anticipate yourself approaching the in-season cards going into 2025?
I think I had a good strategy going into it this year but like I said, I just picked the wrong horses to bet on. My strategy going into this year was I already had some really good classic cards, so I was going to build stacks around them and try to hit it. Um, I think I'm going to take it a little bit different this upcoming year
Mhm.
and go with quality over quantity. Given that there's going to be multiple, um, entries, right? I want to make sure that I can field one really strong lineup every single week. And my goal is going to be just to chip back at the money that I spent going into the season as quickly as possible. So,
Yep.
I mean, that's what I did in basketball. I can field 1.5 strong lineups per week. And we're, I think, 4 game weeks into the season. Um, Basically, I've taken home $5 3 separate times, and I think I'm going to take home 15 this time around. So I'll make $30 of my 300 that I spent back um, immediately within the
Mhm.
first month of the season. So, all it takes is, one big prize to, take that whole chunk of change home, and then you're in the green. So I think that's going to kind of be my goal. I'm going to look at guys that I don't have, um, which is going to be kind of sparing. I'm going to have to really pick the superstars that I think I can find some value on. Um, I'm going to look at the singles in my roster who, like a guy like Devers, who I don't have any other of that Red Sox collection, but I have a ton of organic experience like built up around him.
Mhm.
I'm probably going to let him go and just buy a 25.
Mm.
Get Costas, throw him in there. Your boy Rafaela, whoever I need to kind of form around that, who I have zero exposure to. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I think that building around, assuming that we go back to the 2 classic cards in the in-season contest to start the year, if you have a classic Otani and Mookie, kind of buying the other in-season Dodgers around that, if you want to go the stack strategy, or if not, just kind of going with some mid-tier players to build around it if you don't want to go all in on in-season studs. Um, but yeah, the going back to 2 classic cards will have a big impact. I think that there's a lot of different ways to go about it. I definitely see the value in, overpaying for some early stars because of that low pop and kind of lower competition to take home a cash prize. But it's a gamble, right? You could spend a whole lot on a star early on, and if you don't get a couple big finishes, that all of a sudden that Otani that you buy for $300 to start the year is worth 150, and you didn't cash. There's no guarantees, but it is fun that there's a lot of different ways to go about it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you always see guys that are undervalued. And another thing too, like if you're playing just for the season, long-term hold doesn't really matter. Like in basketball right now, I'm looking at a guy like LeBron who's 39 years old in the NBA. Like the dude's still gonna go off.
Mm-hmm.
So paying $40 for him as opposed to paying $250 for Luca. Like I'd rather pay 40 for LeBron because I'm just going to use him this season.
Yep.
So that's something to kind of consider too when you're looking at just the cash single season strategies. It doesn't become like a legacy dynasty type look anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, by Salvi, he's getting up there in age, but he'll hit homers.
Yeah.
stuff like
Absolutely.
that. That's kind of the approach that I'm looking at for NBA, and then also, kind of translate that over. Age doesn't matter,
Yeah.
performance matters.
Yep. Agreed.
So, some other good stuff in here. Hudson Riv is a gangsta. Absolutely. Get a Jason Dominguez. You heard it from the man himself. I like this from Devin Sharp. I mean, you take stuff like that in consideration. A Stacks has won people some money this year. I mean, like
Mhm.
Miguel, I think through the A Stack, I think he A stacked it twice to like 2 podiums. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but like Langoliers was in both of the lineups for 2 Sotos that Miguel won this year. So love thinking about stuff like that. I mean, Cincinnati was a strategy for me last year because they just are a hitters friendly park, right? And
Mhm.
I kind of started doing that with Rare, where I had basically like I think Encarnacion Strand, Candelario, and like a couple of those type of guys, and Strand got hurt, Candelario kind of sucked, and it didn't work out. But like that was taking the ballpark into consideration definitely. That helps.
Yeah. I think that what is most exciting about in season and the strategy around it is that it does kind of go a little bit back to the roots of traditional fantasy sports where you can just buy a lineup or two and see how it plays out for the year. Like start with enough to play, get a legitimate lineup. It doesn't have to be packed with stars. It's all going to be pretty low pop early on. So if it hits, it's going to hit for you. You're not going to have a whole lot of competition for it. But because all those, obviously classic cards are in play, whether it's 2 or 1, but you can take that kind of like, let's start with some buy lows, some guys that are being slept on. Maybe they had a bad year last year and you're looking for a bounce back. A guy like Matt Olson comes to mind, right? He had a horrendous year, like for everything that he did positively in 2023, he was the opposite in 2024. But Matt Olson can hit, man. Like he's going to figure it out. It's the kind of guy that he's going to be undervalued to start the year. Does he bounce back? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But those are the types of players that are worth looking at to start the year and building a lineup and seeing what happens.
What about our boy Adolis? Are you going to take a risk on him?
It's another good one, right? You can get his classic for nothing right now. Those are the types of things. I mean, the mindset that we have taken for years and years into our redraft leagues and our traditional fantasy football, fantasy baseball, there's a lot of strategy to be pulled from that, where if you don't have the bankroll to buy a whole set, which most people don't, you got to pick your spots, and you're better off buying guys that you think are undervalued rather than the obvious plays. So it is fun that we have that balance between building a giant classic collection where you've got everything at your disposal versus having to kind of pick your spots within season.
So much fun, man. And the most fun it's the best time to scout, man. Like
Yep.
watch some spring ball, see which pitchers are coming up. Like, scouting pitchers right now, especially younger guys, like you can make some buys that are just elite that people aren't on top of. That it makes you feel good too when you do something like that and you're just like rolling out this no name who's just mowing kids down, and it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking the other day. I was looking back at kind of the very first buys when you first got me into this 2 years ago. But Gosman, Tucker, Castellanos, Semi, and Nola. Those were the first 5 that I bought.
That's awesome to see.
Yeah, and then
Tucker
Schwarber, Olsen, and Jansen. So like that was kind of the first lineup. Like I was able to play one lineup.
Yep.
And ended up winning my first auction, which was a Kikuchi relief pitcher. There were only 3 of those minted in 2023. Way overspent on a Trey Turner as my stud, and then just kind of kept going from there. Had a Casas gifted to me, won the Devers 11 auction, and just kept rounding it out. One lineup turned into two turned into three, and now I've got 425 limited cards. So it going back into that mindset that I had when I first bought into some classic cards, and like, okay, I'm gonna roll with this and see what happens. You get to do that each year with in season, and I think that's fun. I like that dynamic.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I of course, while you were doing that, I had to go back and take a look at mine also. Let's see here. But before I show that, there's something I did that kind of came to mind, and I want to bring it up before I forget. Great time right now to trade cards for old seasons. You know, like if you're trying to round out a set and you have a 2024 set that, you know, I've been doing this all over the place. Like, hit me up, because I have a handful of 2024s that I would rather have the 2023s of. So I'm trading in my 2024, my 2024 Astros for 2023 Astros, my 2024 Braves, 2023 Braves, like stuff that I had from, you know, 2023. Like, there's still stuff that I need to add to. And I purposely didn't buy their card this year because I knew I was going to, you know, use the Bregman, for example, like this year instead of wanting the classic, you know? So it's, you have plenty of time. We got months now, you know, to look at our collections and get ready for the next season. But
I've done a ton of trades like that. You know, I just offer up the same player, and then I'll throw in a couple bucks or a lower value card or two, where it's like, it's an obvious snap call for that person because I'm giving them more value. But for me, I'm pulling the card into the collection that I need with collector score. So in the end, we both win, but it makes it an easy decision for them to accept it. And yeah, it's a really good way to go about it and get the year card that you need for that player. I did it for Freddie Freeman. I did it for Adolis before he really hit the fan, and a variety of others where I had it in one year and needed it in another. And yeah, trading is a really good way to go about that.
For sure. Yeah, and plus you have all the time in the world for the extra 10 points to kick in now too. So
right.
Yeah, you just see where you're at, take inventory of where you're at.
Yep.
Currently, and then if you're falling short, then you can, you know, hit the auctions if an auction comes up, if you need to just make up for it. But I'll show mine. Here's the first card that I got. Funny enough, I think that was my first purchase.
Nice.
And yeah, it's gonna be kind of tough to get rid of that one, but I think I'm gonna do it anyways. I don't really have any sentimental attachment to it. This was my first reward, and that was my first limited card ever. I won that from a common contest in the year that it came out, and I didn't own any limited cards. They're crazy expensive. But then in the offseason, I got Devers and scouted Dominguez, Wilson, Nola, DeGrom, J-Ram, and Seager were guys that I used to start off. So
it is cool to see these cards creeping up to level 14, 15, 16, like kind of that thing that felt so far away when we first started playing this game. The cards that we've owned for a long time now just have real significant XP boosts on them, a lot of double-digit boosts, even if the collector score isn't that great. And the ones where we have built the collector score around it, you know, 12%, 13% on a classic card is, you know, all of a sudden you've got classic cards that can outperform in-season cards in terms of XP. And that's that only happens when you've been here for a while. So it is cool to see that value kicking in. And like we say over and over again, that really comes into play when you're talking about podiums.
100%. Yeah, it's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, man, that's basically, I don't know if I got anything else, man. It's been a hell of a season. It's been super fun. Pretty much towards the end of the show here, if you want to wrap it up, but you got anything else on your plate that you want to chat about?
No, I mean, appreciate everybody that has been in here over the last couple months. It was really fun to get back into it, and I know that we're gonna hit the ground running going into next year. We caught the bug again, and I don't think that we're going back. We've enjoyed these kind of a little bit more free form, kind of just talking through what we're seeing and what we're enjoying, a little bit less of the weekly, these are the cards you should play. I think that there's plenty of conversation about that in Discord. It's a really good place to have those conversations, but I think we've both enjoyed a little bit more of an open format here. And I think that those of you that have been hanging out with us have enjoyed that as well. So yeah, just really appreciate everybody that hangs out every time we do this.
100%, man. Shout outs to everybody out there who's been a part of this. It was super fun to get back into it. Felt like low pressure situation where we could just come on and hang out with our friends who were doing the same things that we were. So appreciate every single one of you. Nate, it's always good to be getting on here with you. And next year, we got some exciting stuff up our sleeve. So, who knows if it'll be a weekly thing or a bi-weekly thing or whatever, but we'll be a little bit more organized and got a ton of fun things in store for the channel here. So, keep in touch. See us in the Discord. The link is in all of our social medias on the YouTube page. You can find it. Find us on X. Hit us up. We're not hard to find. So, all right.
Love it.
2024. Sorare MLB. Thanks again, guys. We'll catch you next year.
Go Sox.